Yo guys, what is up? Moxie here with our first Descendant video, and today we're going to be going over everything you need to know as a returning player to TFD. Now this is going to cover if you're returning from quitting after the first week or you haven't played in the past month. So much has changed in this game, from improving quality of life features like making farming easier so that there's now a pity system where if you don't get what you want in a certain amount of runs, you can just get it guaranteed. They've improved the vertical grinds where you can now have more things to grind for with more power progression, more build customization. They've added new bosses, new endgame dungeons, and more. And in this guide, we're going to be covering over basically everything that you've missed, but also the fastest routes and the things that you should be focusing on if you are returning to the game. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. So the first thing we're going to talk about is farming. So if you go open up your map, you can go to library and you can see where certain weapons come from, where modules come from. On any item, you can always hit the button and see exactly where anything in the game drops from. So if you need to find where something drops from in the game, if you need anything at all, this is going to be your best friend. Now, there is a new addition to this, and that is your target rewards. So basically, TFD has added a pity system that allows you to basically set something as a target reward, and if you do the mission that drops that multiple times and you don't get it, you can get it guaranteed after a certain amount of runs, and that can depend on the piece of gear that you're trying to get. But for example, if I was wanting the ATAM sniper, which is a new sniper rifle in the game, and I haven't gotten this synthetic fiber blueprint yet. Currently, you can kind of see that I've already set this, but you go over to this, and then you hit set as target reward, and then whenever I run the mission, I will be able to get progress towards this, even if I don't get it dropped immediately. That is one of the biggest improvements to farming. It's not a system that you can set up for specific things in amorphous materials, but you can set it up to get those amorphous materials, for example. And so there's a big improvements there. Now, speaking of amorphous materials, there's also new things that allow you to get the items that you want from amorphous materials a whole lot more easy. So if you come to a nice and go to your research requests and you scroll down, you can find these things called advanced shape stabilizers. Now, these are a new thing that's added to the game. There's many ways to get them. You can get them through events, you can craft them, you can get them through ETA, which is the weekend shop, which we'll talk about in a second. But basically, these are super stabilizers. Stabilizers in this game are a way to improve your RNG when you're opening up crates and stuff. These will change your RNG basically flip-flopped. So before, these would give you the normal shape stabilizers would give you a few percent a better chance on getting the thing you want. Now, if you're farming for something that is a 6% chance, you can flip it and make it a 32% chance. So these things are an absolute godsend, and they're another huge improvement that's come to the quality of life of farming. The next massive change to farming was that they have now taken and kind of not removed outpost farming, but it's no longer as big of a thing as it was when the game came out. These used to have 5-minute timers before you could farm them. Now they're on a 30-second timer, but the materials that are in your outposts are no longer exclusive to your outposts. So these you can still farm and do it, but if you don't want to, they've now set it up so that dungeons have their different rewards, and they have rewards that can come from outposts, which is really nice. And I'm gonna move my camera here. Basically, whenever you go to do a dungeon, you can change the reward, and so you will pick your reward, and whatever you want you will get when you complete it. However, you can set it up so that you don't you can get match made with other players that are running other dungeons, and this is just a way to streamline matchmaking. Let's say there's not many people running the specific dungeon for the specific reward that you want. You can hit this other infiltration support, and it will put you into any dungeon with other players and still give you your reward that you're looking for, but you might be running a different dungeon. This way, you don't have the fatigue of running the same dungeon 100 times to get one thing. You can run a ton of different dungeons and still get the same reward that you're looking for over and over again, which is awesome. Next thing to talk about with farming is one of the most asked questions I get is, where is the best XP farm? Now, they've done a lot of shifting and reallocating of different XP to different places, but currently the best XP farm in the game, it's pretty simple, straightforward, is from Special Operations. This is a terminal in Albion. You can come up here, and what you're going to want to click is the Special Operations Hard. These were added recently, and they're basically hard mode versions of the defenses. You are going to want a pretty geared character to bring to these, and good weapons, because the enemies can get pretty tanky, and there's like hundreds of them spawning, and there's 2 operations here. Basically, they'll rotate around on a different kind of basis, but when you're doing these, you'll see in the like intermission screens either a weapon icon when you're getting your XP, or a like collection icon, and the one that is for the collection icon is going to give you better Descendant XP, and the one that's giving you a weapon icon will always give you better weapon XP, and you can do one of these in 10 minutes, and it'll get you from 1 to 40. So before, we had farms when the game first launched that would get you from 1 to 40 in 40 minutes. Now you can do it in 10 minutes, so it's way better, and you get code breakers from doing this and a bunch of other worthwhile rewards. Currently in the game, the Kuiper Mine Blockade is what you're going to want to be running if you're looking for Descendant XP, and the Fortress is what you're going to be running if you want weapon experience. But just note that you might be watching this and these might change, so you just know how to identify which one is giving you the better experience. In terms of the best gold sources right now, currently in the game, you can run a invasion dungeon. You can run one of these twice, and there's 2 a day, so you can run them 4 times. And every time you run a single one, it'll give you around 1.25 million gold, which is fantastic. This is kind of limited, but if you're doing this like once a day, you will never have gold issues again, which is really nice. Another good gold farm to mention is just using or running these special operations. It does very much help to have a dog in these like big open areas where there's hundreds of enemies dying, to pick up and dismantle all of the things that are going to be dropping, because dismantling can give you Kuiper, and the dog can pick up a bunch of gold. And if you're just looking for a mission to run on repeat, Environment Contamination Zone on Bunny is still a fantastic gold and Kuiper farm, but there are like other things that you can be doing in the game that reward additional things. This farm really only gives you gold and Kuiper. The next thing I want to talk about is one of the biggest new endgame additions to the game, which is called Void Erosion Purge. Now, this is one of a few new endgame systems, but it's the one that, in my opinion, you're going to want to focus on the most. Now, in order to access Void Erosion Purge, you're going to want to have to beat the main campaign and progress down the main quest line. I forget the exact name of the quest that'll unlock this for you, but hopefully it should be popping up on screen. Now, Void Erosion Purge is a little bit like a dungeon ladder, but basically you've got different levels, and you start at level 1, and it's kind of a timed clear thing. You're going to be blasting through level 1, and if you beat it in the allocated time, so complete a purge with 5 minutes of playtime remaining, you'll progress to level 2, and then if you beat level 2, that'll progress to level 3. Now, one thing you'll note here is the Vulgus level is you're going to see here is the highest that you can find in the game. So this is where the hardest enemies in the game are found, and they just keep getting stronger and stronger with more and more modifiers. Now, in terms of clearing 1 through 20, whatever Descendant is your strongest will probably be a pretty solid pick. I personally recommend Descendants that have very fast clear times and clear speed. If you do not have Inez is one of the current strongest characters to do this. I'll show you my Inez build later. But Inez, Freyna, Haley, there's a lot of characters that can do this pretty efficiently. But the thing about this is once you get past level 20, things really, really start to ramp up. Now, the reason for this is as you go higher and higher, there becomes a like incurred skill damage penalty, or the enemies gaining skill damage reduction. So your builds that you're clearing everything in the entire game with start to become obsolete because the enemies just take so much less damage from you. And you're able to get to around level 26 with using skill builds. But then once you're at level 26 to progress to 27, 28, 29, and 30, your guns are going to become really important. Now, one thing that's been changed in TFD that is a big meta shift is they've placed a very large emphasis on the damage that you get from matching elements on enemies. And so this is the part where you're going to really start wanting to look at what the enemies are weak to and bringing in guns that match their elemental weakness. So for example, 26 is very weak to chill, 27 is very weak to toxic, 28 and 29 will both be very weak to electric, and 30 is weak to chill. And I promise you, matching elements for this is going to be really important, but that's only half the battle. The other thing that is part of this endgame system, and the reason you care about climbing this, is because of these things. These are cores, and cores have multiple different tiers. They go from tier 1 all the way to tier 10, and the passives that come on them will be much higher on tier 10s than on like tier 1s. So on a tier 1, you might see like 10% increased cold damage, but on a tier 10, you might see 180% cold damage. And the way that the like kind of progression in this works is you're going to want to farm the highest tier that you can clear. And while you're doing that, you're going to be getting cores to drop. These cores will allow you to place them onto your weapons, such as, like, for example, my Malevolent here. You can see all these additional stats on it in addition to the, like, base stats that you can, like, craft on the gun. And these will allow you to augment your weapon to clear void erosions more efficiently. And so kind of the game is clear as high as you can go, build up the weapons, and then once your weapon is strong enough, then you can clear that. Then you're going to want kind of a new weapon or a new setup with a different element for the next tier, and you're just going to keep progressing until you can get to level 30. Now, in order to apply these cores to your weapon, you need a new resource called a core binder. Core binders are something that you can craft from beating the new hardest level boss in the game. So the normal boss ladder currently goes up to Deathstalker, who is level 145, but to push that even higher, there are the Void Intercept battles, which are these Abyss level 150s, and honestly, these bosses are really all about damage. Compared to the normal boss ladder, they really don't have many mechanics. They just hit really, really hard, but with the right build, you can take them out quickly, and when you kill these things, you're going to be getting Void Abyss metal fragments. Now, if you come over to an ice, you can see, when you go to your crafting, if we type in core binder, for example, we can see the two kind of resources that are associated with this. There are other ways to get this resource, but in terms of like your time, it is most efficient if you can kill the Colossus in like a minute or less to be just killing the Colossuses. They drop from like 50 to 90 Void Abyss metal fragments on kill, and once you get 2,000 of them, you can use core binders. You can also craft these core particle disruptors. These are so you can re-roll your cores, because the cores have multiple options on them, and depending on how lucky you could get different rolls. So for example, let's go over here and say we're going to equip a core on our Malevolent. Now, I wanted fire rate cores on my Malevolent, which I do have currently, but I only have 13%. We can go over to this left side and see that I have a chance of rolling up to 20%, but I also have a chance of rolling attribute, rounds, fire rate, and reload. All of those things I don't care about. The one thing that is currently very nice about this core system is if you don't get what you want, or you don't get an improvement, you don't have to force it onto your weapon. So if you roll fire rate here, and I got rounds per magazine, I'd much prefer fire rate. I can choose to stay with my fire rate. And so you're going to be constantly adding cores to your weapon to min-max them to try to get all gold values and all the highest values you can. And these will more than like quadruple the damage of your weapon once you get all of the cores that you're looking for. So I did want to throw this in here, but I just kind of wanted to kind of urge you to check the date on the video, because this information could be outdated. But I just wanted to mention some weapons that are incredibly powerful right now due to their cores or due to buffs, because every weapon has different cores that can get put on them, and certain cores can massively increase your damage, while certain meta weapons that were meta before got really bad cores, and then they can't benefit from this system as much. So some certain weapons to call out that I think you should prioritize in building to clear the hardest content and are some of the strongest guns in the game. And once again, this information could change if you're watching this from like a year from now, but current strongest weapons to build right now are the Last Dagger. The Last Dagger can easily get up to 100% crit chance, hits massively hard. And on Glay or characters that can abuse its like low magazine, this thing can deal ridiculous amounts of damage. The Restored Relic was also buffed massively. It gets great cores and allows you to deal massive elemental damage. On most of these weapons, by the way, part of the reason they're so strong is their ability to roll fire rate cores. Fire rate is a stat that has been capped on almost every weapon to maximum of 25% before. We could always build lots of damage. We could always build lots of elements, but we've never been able to build a lot of fire rate. And so fire rate is going to be something that you're going to want to keep an eye out for on all of these weapons. So some weapons to call out are the Last Dagger, the Restored Relic, the Perforator, the Executor, and the Smithereens are both incredibly powerful shotguns. The Albion Cavalry is very good for Void Erosion. This thing was buffed and now can build up flat crit for itself, but it also stuns enemies that you're shooting. And in Void Erosion, one thing you'll find out very quickly is that the enemy's damage starts to scale very high. And so this is one of the best weapons you can use for Void Erosion because it will keep things stunned, meaning that they can't kill you. And if you're not building tanky for Void Erosion, a lot of things will just straight up one-shot you. And then some other things to call out right now are the ATAMs is incredibly strong, can delete bosses very, very comfortably. And the new Battle Pass weapon, the Malevolent, is also a very strong option. The next super cool thing that was added to the first Descendant, that was a long requested feature, is something called this Photon Imprinter. This is a new material in the game. Currently, you can get it just by doing like daily quests and challenges, but the Photon Imprinter will allow you to transfer all of your progress from a non-ultimate Descendant to an ultimate Descendant. So let's say you fully built up your Freyna, and now you have ultimate Freyna, but you haven't put any catalyst or anything into her, or even if you have, when you use this Photon Imprinter, you will get all of your progress from your normal Descendant to transfer over to your ultimate Descendant. So you'll get those catalyst slots, you'll get your energy activator, and any resources you spend on that character, they will all go to that character, and any duplicates that you've used will get brought back to you as just things you get back in your inventory. So let's say you already used an energy activator, this thing on your Freyna, and you used one on your ultimate Freyna. When you use a Photon Imprinter to transfer your progress, since you've used a duplicate, Matt, you will just get an energy activator back in your like inventory. The next new system to mention is ETA. This is something that's a bit older, but basically this is our equivalent of like Xur from Destiny. He's a trader that will come on the weekends, and you can use duplicate parts that you've gotten to trade them in to get currency that you can buy things like paints, you can buy weapon parts, you can buy advanced shape stabilizers, you can buy storage slots, code breakers, and there's two kind of rewards here. The like infiltration operation rewards, that is a currency that you can get from running infiltration operations, and then also the exchange supplies, which is a currency that you get from trading in your duplicates. And both of these will be available like every weekend. So if you're missing something, you can go and get it. Like, for example, there was a research box, crystallization catalyst parts. And like if you ever need like extra paints, you can get those for basically free here. All you need to do is play the game a little bit. It is a very, very nice system. The next endgame system to talk about is Sigma Sector. Now, this is the most recent added story and new area. It is the first time that we've got like really like a new playable area in TFD. In order to get to this, you need to just progress the story. If you progress the story up to the most recent, you'll be able to farm this, but this is basically these like mini dungeon areas. You're able to run them pretty quickly, and they will give you Serena, who is an incredibly powerful Descendant, and a bunch of new weapons. Now, the one of the big incentives to run currently Sigma Sector is it is the best experience farm in the game currently for our new endgame progression system called Arche Tuning. These are like kind of like Diablo Paragon boards, where you can get your Descendant a little bit more damage. Honestly, actually, it's quite a bit more damage, or a bit more health, more cooldown, more range, whatever you need from it. These boards are personalized to your Descendants. So if you play Inez a lot, or you play Freyna a lot, and you run her through Sigma Sector a ton, you're going to be leveling her up. You have to level each Descendant up individually. So this is not something that is carried over from Descendant to Descendant. As you can see, I'm currently level 31 on Serena, but you get multiple loadouts for free. And so, like, for example, if you want to have a loadout that is for a gun Serena, and then you want to have a loadout for an ability-based Serena, you can set up multiple boards and, like, have them and swap them on the fly. And there's quite a bit of, like, min-maxing to do here, especially on certain Descendants that have, like, huge scalable damage. For example, Serena really scales a lot of her damage off of her HP, and we can pick up 42% HP here and 55% HP here. Another thing to mention to catch up, this is kind of information that can be useful regardless of whenever you've played, but one thing that was frustrating in this game was if you missed a season, you could miss that season's Battle Pass weapon, and some of these Battle Pass weapons are actually really strong. If you come over to Descendant here, or if you just come down the stairs is the first person on the left, you can come over to the Trade Limited weapon and buy parts for weapons that you don't have. So, for example, if you didn't get the Excava, which is now currently with cores a pretty strong assault rifle, you can actually just use these currency to be able to get, like, past women's weapons that you might have missed out on. The next thing to mention is a huge quality of life that has come to reactors, and that is reactor implanting. Basically, they've changed reactors to now just be for general weapon categories, so you no longer need to have a, like, reactor that says you have to have the Thunder Cage equipped. Now it'll just be any SMG, and so there's a lot more flexibility in reactors, and this opens them up to find, like, a lot easier, like, god roll reactors. But let's say you get a reactor that you really like, that you want to use a different weapon on. So, like, this one, for example, rolled some skill cooldown and skill cost, but it says assault rifle class mounted on it. I could take this now and take another reactor that maybe I don't like. This has machine guns on it, and then I can add machine guns to this. And then, with 3 optimization conditions, I could have, for example, shotguns, SMGs, and snipers, all as optimization conditions, and then I could run shotguns, snipers, and SMGs, and whenever I swap to any of them, I'm never going to lose the damage from my reactor. And so these are really, really nice. You can also upgrade your reactor to now rank 5 to increase your damage if you're using a skill-based Descendant even more. The next thing to mention is the fellows. These were added, and they are incredible quality of life for the game. Basically, the main use of these, in my opinion, is the fact that they auto pick up gear for you, but they also auto dismantle. The first Descendant is a game that drops a ton of gear, and it can be a massive slog and interrupt your gameplay if you're constantly running out of space and needing to constantly open up your inventory, mark items, delete them, and so on and so forth. You can get these new fellows, which will auto dismantle and auto pick up items for you. Now, how that works is once you get your fellow, you would just want to turn on auto dismantle. This means that they will delete things for you. They do so on a cooldown, but they delete things that you basically will mark as junk. So they've added a junk filter that you can set up for weapons, reactors, and external components. If you're looking for a good kind of filter layout, I have a separate video for that on, like, the best settings for that. But basically, you can make sure that, like, for example, I really care about external components that come with at least 2 of MP recovery, max HP, MP recovery modifier, defense, and max MP. All of these things are valuable stats, and so if a component doesn't have at least 2 of these in purple or higher, it'll get auto-deleted from my inventory, and I just don't even need to worry about it. And then when I do check my inventory, I'll only have, like, really good rolls. And so getting that set up and your dog set up is very, very helpful. In order to get a dog, you need to do a new endgame activity as well. In order to access this endgame activity, which is called Void Vessels, you're going to want to come to this terminal in Albion, and this is also something that you're just going to want to progress the main storyline through to unlock. But as you can see here, when we're doing Void Vessel, we have options to get certain things. Depending on how fast you clear Void Vessel, you'll get different reward options, with the fastest time clear allowing you to have a bunch of different options. And from this, you can get dog blueprints as well as dog food to level them up, and new Descendants such as Inez and Keelan Inez being one of the strongest Descendants in the game right now, so definitely an activity you're going to want to run. But this activity also drops a lot of materials that you need to like build up your Descendants, such as the materials you need for catalysts. So it's going to be valuable to you to run anyways, but you do get the dog, you do get Descendants, and you get a bunch of materials from doing this. So definitely something that you're going to want to spend some time running. Guys, that's going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know down in the comments if there's anything that I forgot to include that you think would be important for returning players to know or check out. I will catch y'all in the next one, guys. Take care. Peace.